Hey guys, it's Brandon. Do you enjoy feeling lonely? Do you like a lot of uncertainty in your life? How about a concern for your safety? Doesn't sound all that great, does it? But what if I told you that on the other side of a small dose of all those feelings was something truly special and unforgettable? What if I told you that with that comes amazing connections with people from all over the world? People you meet so randomly, but that make you wonder if it was meant to be. What if I told you that through all of the uncertainty, you emerged as a person with a new outlook on life, with a new sense of confidence in your own abilities? And what if all of this came about from an experience that was created completely by you and that was uniquely yours? Well, these are reasons why I think traveling can be such a profound journey, but more specifically, they are reasons why traveling alone can be an adventure that changes your life forever in ways that you hadn't imagined. I briefly want to share with you my very first experience traveling alone, how it impacted my life, and why I think everyone should try it at least once in their lives. So my first experience traveling alone was in Thailand. I went to Thailand because I wanted the crystal blue waters, the sparkling white sand, the lush jungles, and the amazing Thai food. Plus, I knew that Thailand was a very common destination for backpackers, and so I figured that it meant it was a well-established place for solo travelers staying in hostels and just figuring things out on the fly. I wanted to travel alone for a few reasons. First, I knew other people that had done it before, and all of them said the same thing, that it was an amazing experience. I had met a few of them on various trips in the past. As we talked, I just had so much respect for them, knowing that they were having this adventure all on their own. They seemed brave, outgoing, and daring. But one of the biggest motivators for me to travel alone was time. What do I mean by that? Well, if you've ever wanted to go on a trip somewhere with another person, you know how difficult it can be sometimes to both have the exact same time available. You'll be talking with a friend about how much you both want to travel somewhere in Europe or Asia. Both of you only get 2 weeks of vacation time, which is typical here in the US, and you suggest going in the summer. But as you begin trying to plan everything out, your friend says that a family reunion came up, and so they need to use a few of their precious vacation days for that. Now they have only a little more than a week to travel to a place that takes 2 days just to get there and back. Then they realize they're going to be in a wedding party in the month of June. And so they need to be available all month for the bachelor party and the wedding ceremony. They suggest going on the trip in July, but you can't because that's when your grandparents are in town and you need to be at home. You suggest August, but your friend starts their new job in August and they'll be super busy. Plus, it's their probationary period, and they'll look bad if they take a vacation in the first few months of their new job. They say to squeeze in the trip around the holiday season, but you're much too busy with family to even think about leaving during that time. How about early next year, they say? Sorry, the first quarter of the year is busy season at your job, and no one is allowed to take time off. Maybe spring? You get the picture. Basically, your travel plans are postponed for nearly a year because you're tied to someone else's schedule. Let's just hope that nothing else pops up a year from now that prevents you from doing it then. When you travel alone, you decide when to go. And once you find the time that works for you, no one is going to stop you. It's a big, bright, green light to take the opportunity and make the most of the time for yourself. Trust me, it is so liberating. So here's the story. I got out of the car and walked towards the big sliding doors at the airport. The moment I stepped through those doors, I felt like my adventure had begun and that I was on my own. I didn't have to check any bags because I made sure to buy the biggest backpack available that could also still fit on the plane as a carry-on. After all, arriving in Thailand all alone and finding out that my bag never made it would not put me in a good situation. It was a long flight, and being that I was trying to save as much money as I could, I took the cheapest flight available. Luckily, it only had one very short stop in Beijing, and the flight was at a reasonable hour, but it meant that the flight was mostly full, and I would be forced to endure the drudgery of the middle seat for nearly 14 hours. When I arrived in Bangkok, I contacted my friend who was living in the city. I was going to be staying with him for a few days. This was one of the first big differences of traveling alone. Since I couldn't rely on anyone traveling with me, and since I didn't know the city, it encouraged me to use my resources and to reach out to someone that was nice enough to help. Had I been on a trip with a friend, it's likely that this wouldn't have happened because it wouldn't really need to happen. At most, perhaps we would have met up for dinner or something like that. But during this experience traveling alone, he let me into his home. Every morning we would drive together to take his mom to a beauty spa that she owned, and we would stop for a quick breakfast along the way. Then I would jump on a scooter taxi to go out and explore the city, the temples, the streets, all on my own while he was at work. I was so grateful for my friend's hospitality, but eventually I had to leave and make my way down to the Thai islands. I booked myself a hostel from my phone and then took a bus down south. This part of the adventure was where I learned another valuable part of traveling alone. You open yourself up to so many unique, seemingly random opportunities to build genuine connections with strangers. On the bus ride down south, I met a new friend from Vietnam, and even though we were staying at different hostels, we decided to spend an entire day and explore a small beach town on scooters. A little bit later, I partied with a new friend who I would run into again later on in my trip on a different island. And on a boat ride over to Koh Phi Phi, I met a couple of friends who I would spend much of the remainder of my trip with. One of which told me that he was returning to Thailand because he loved it so much that he decided to fly back to Canada, sell his BMW, quit his job, and move to Thailand to be a scuba instructor. But despite how much fun this sounds, I think one of the most profound experiences of this trip was the experience of being lost and lonely. You see, despite meeting these new friends, I wasn't with them all the time. Partly because we each had our own plans and our own things going on, but also because I didn't want to stick to these people just for the sake of not being alone. I wanted to have some time to myself and only join others when I truly wanted to. It felt like it would be the easy way out if I simply clinged to the people that I met so that I would always have someone by my side. Well, as you can imagine, this meant that there were some afternoons where I wandered off by myself, where I didn't meet someone that I genuinely connected with and wanted to be around. There were some afternoons where I would get lost in a neighborhood that didn't have tourists everywhere, and since I couldn't rely on anyone else, I had to make my own decisions of which streets to turn down or how quickly I should move before it gets dark. I had to approach locals, greet them with a shy hello in Thai, and then proceed to ask for help using hand gestures and drawing things on a piece of paper. There were nights where people would be partying on the beach, and I would kind of be wandering around, not really sure what I wanted to do. Sure, I could jump in and find a group to party with, and that can be a fantastic and spontaneous experience in itself. But some nights I felt like I would only be doing that out of insecurity. There were some nights I either wanted to just be alone with my thoughts or to find someone that I could actually have a deep conversation with. And if I didn't find someone like that on a particular day, then it would mean that I would be alone for a chill night. But this is the beauty of traveling alone. You can do that. You can decide for yourself how you feel and who you want around you. You emerge from being lost in the city and feeling like a champion because you alone got yourself out of that sticky situation. There's this huge sense of pride and accomplishment, and you feel refreshed and revitalized when you've given yourself the time to be alone with yourself. And then you feel so pumped up to go and meet new people and to be a social butterfly again. When we travel with others, it's an almost certainty that we're going to be with them no matter what, all the time. It's almost a certainty that we will leave many decisions up to them, that we won't have as big of a reason to approach random strangers because we already have someone we're familiar with right here. That can all be a great thing for any friendship, which is why it's a great idea to take a trip with a friend. But all I'm saying is that it's also an amazing, unique experience to travel alone and to be the sole curator of your own experience. So that was a small look into the experience I had in Thailand and why I think it's so worth it to give yourself at least one opportunity to travel alone. I know it can be scary. I know it can be dangerous because you're in unfamiliar places with unfamiliar people in unfamiliar cultures. But that's the beauty and nature of traveling. And trust me, as long as you're not reckless, once you've decided to take this challenge for yourself, you'll inevitably do it in a way that minimizes risks anyways. And you'll soon realize that you might be in more danger simply walking around the streets of LA than you are on the beautiful beaches of Thailand or amongst the museums and the cathedrals of Spain. So get started. Plan the adventure of your dreams and remember, you're not going to survive out there. You're going to thrive out there.